Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. My dear friends, I pray you're all well. Okay, let's continue. Al-Fatiha. Yeah. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على سيدنا ومولانا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين اللهم لا علم لنا إلا ما علمتنا إنك أنت العليم الحكيم اللهم علمنا ما ينفعنا وانفعنا بما علمتنا وامنحنا يا ربنا علما وعملا وقربا يا أرحم الراحمين اللهم أكرمنا ولا تهنا اللهم زدنا ولا تنقصنا وأكرمنا ولا تهنا وأعطنا ولا تحرمنا وآثرنا ولا تؤثر علينا وأرضنا وارض عنا يا كريم. So, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, we were last looking at the the story of Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam to try and draw lessons from it for our lives and the world around us. And we saw when Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam faced the challenge of Fir'aun with the magicians representing Fir'aun, and Musa alayhi salatu wasalam dominated their magic with the miracle that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him with the staff turning into the snake. And the purpose of this was quite clear. Fir'aun wanted to try and discredit Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. Just looking at things on a worldly level, he was thinking, well, he's done this, it must be something, it must be done in a particular way. So if anyone knows about it, the magicians are going to know, and I'll get the best of them, and they'll be able to defeat him. But the defeat of the magicians, and then the honesty and the integrity of the magicians, which led them to actually believing in Sayyidina Musa, changed things completely. It vilified Fir'aun in the sense that it showed that his claims of being God are false, that the entire religion is false, just from this one incident, right? And then there was obviously rumors from before, but it showed, that everything that he's claiming is false. It humiliated him. He's not divine. It humiliated his, chief advisors. So what are they supposed to do? So they had to respond. And in that moment, Fir'aun was so angry, he killed the magicians, which is, heavily implied. He killed them. And Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam, Allah protected him, right? Fir'aun couldn't do anything. But Musa left alayhi salatu wasalam with his brother Harun, with their position, increasingly more and more. Can't think of the word now. Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam had made inroads now. Many people. So the Bani Israel certainly believed because they'd seen the miracle and he was from them. And there may have been, some people who had doubts, but this, clarified it. It also showed the Egyptians, right? The Copts, those people who had enslaved Bani Israel, that this isn't just someone who's making a claim. He's the genuine article. So someone who's has been sent by God as a messenger. He has a message and he's got the miracles to prove it. And they should have listened at that point. But what happens, people don't want to lose their way of life if it means that they're going to lose their creature comforts. These people had enslaved Bani Israel for, generations, centuries. Fir'aun had seen a dream, or one of the soothsayers had told him that a boy will be born to these people who's going to depose you. And consequently, they were killing the children of Bani Israel, all the sons. And, it was, a huge trial for Sayyidina Musa and his people. Just growing up, him in the palace, but seeing all of this, his people suffering. So what happened? What happened is that the elite didn't want Fir'aun to drop the subject now. Okay, you've vented your anger, you've killed the magicians, but don't just stop there. So what do? They went and they whispered into his into his ear, Well, they must have said it openly, but it's the whisperings of a devil, right? وقال الملأ من قوم فرعون أتذر موسى وقومه ليفسدوا في الأرض ويذرك وآلهتك. The chiefs of Pharaoh's people protested, are you going to leave Moses and his people free to spread corruption in the land and abandon you and your gods? قال سنقتل أبناءهم ونستحيي نساءهم وإنا فوقهم قاهرون. He said, we will kill their sons and keep their women, we will completely dominate them. So what's happening here? وقال الملأ, these people who fill the eyes and the perception of their underlings and people, the masses, with awe and reverence and reverence for them, for their public position and their their wealth and the authority that they have. So from the qawm of Fir'aun, these people had the potential to do good or great harm. And so they said to their ruler, Fir'aun, أَتَذَرُ مُوسَى وَقَوْمَهُ. So, أَتَذَرُ, like, are you going to ignore them? Are you just going to leave this unaddressed? Are you just going to let them carry on and do what they want? This word has this meaning of something, just either ignoring something because it's not worth it, or just completely just shunning something, or just not engaging with it at all. So they're saying, look what damage he's caused to our reputation, to people's perception of our religion, to you, to your quote-unquote divinity. Look what damage is caused. And are you just going to let him walk free? Are you just going to let him and his people off and not do anything about it? Ilhab, what they're doing, they're inciting him to go and do something wrong, tyrannical, right? They're inciting him. It's like saying someone, it's like saying to someone who is a good cook, people are saying that so and so is a better cook than you. Are you just gonna let that be? I think they might be better than you as well. Prove it. So you get them to cook for you or something, right? Are you just gonna let this go and not do anything about it? So it's really an accusation, of Fir'aun, that are you just inept, incapable? Do you not really have any power? You're just going to allow this? So, أَتَذَرُ مُوسَى وَقَوْمَهُ, and his people, لِيُفْسِدُوا فِي الْأَرْضِ, to go and cause corruption in the land. You can read it as land, or on earth, that they'll go and cause damage and corruption all over the world. When in reality, these people were the ones who enslaved the people of Musa alayhi salatu wasalam for centuries. These people were the ones who were killing their children. These people were mistreating them and keeping them under the heel of their boot. Right? These people that did all of that, and then they go and they insinuate that Musa alayhi salatu wasalam and his people are going to end up like that. No, right? Sayyidina Musa would never be like that. So are you just going to allow this? And are you going to allow Musa وَيَذَرَكَ وَآلِهَتَكَ, and for him to ignore you and your gods? So we know that the ancient Egyptians had a number of beliefs regarding their deities, and so the pharaoh was an embodiment of a god, and so this is why he was claiming ana rabbukumul a'la, I'm your Lord Most High, right? Wrong. And then they had beliefs, they had their superstitions regarding other imaginary beings being divine, so they'd worship all of them, but the central focus, I believe, or the pharaoh of the time was also seen as a divine figure, maybe the central divine figure that they had. So he's saying, and are you going to let him just ignore you, not give you your due, not worship you, not recognize your divinity, godhood, quote unquote? Obviously he wasn't. And that of your idols, are you just going to let all of this go unaddressed? Like, what are you doing? And so this obviously riled up Fir'aun. So what does he do? The hamiyya, this ignorance, the like when people in gang cultures as well, when someone insults the gang, they have to retaliate. That hamiyya in Arabic, they call it, this desire to go out and prove your metal and no one can mess with us. That Hamiyya came into Fir'aun, no, and he said, Sanuqattilu abna'ahum, we will murder their children. This is a particular level of law where someone is just willing to go and murder children, right? Not bothered about, their pain and suffering. Normally, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has created children, and children are, children don't have the features of adults. If you notice in children, their features are all quite close together, which gives them a cute appearance, right? And so Allah has made him like that, so people feel more tenderness and affection towards children. And so to not care about that and to just be willing to just murder them is you have to stoop to a very low level to not care about that. But so he says, soon, like almost immediately, I'm not going to let this matter go. Don't think that. So he's obviously responding to the accusations. And no, it doesn't say naqtul, nuqattilu. If you use the equivalent for the pattern for the word qata'a, to cut, you say qata'a, he cut the meat or something, or you say qatta'a, that you'd say he diced. So with no mercy, with unflinching violence, we will murder their children. وَنَسْتَحْيِي نِسَاءَهُمْ, and we'll almost go to, you can almost read it as, we'll go to great lengths to leave their women alive, which is horrible because firstly, the mothers feel all this suffering that their sons are dying. They're worried when they're expecting, will it be a son? Will they kill him? The fathers feel this, and they also essentially finish off and the coming generation. Also, they leave the mothers alive to use them as slaves, and all the other harm that they were doing. It's really not something that's it's really not something that you'd want anyone to live through. And it says wa inna, a nominal sentence with inna, and he's using the royal we. Fawqahum, we are way above them. They can't assail us. They can't do anything to us. They can't affect us. We are far superior, far beyond them. Qahirun, dominating them. We dominate them completely. That they can't do anything to resist, and they can't do anything to fight back. Right? A'udhu billah. This kind of blindness that comes from arrogance, it doesn't lead to any good. So when Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam heard of this, he did what prophets do. He inspired his people with the guidance that and inspire them with the motivation to turn to Allah, direct yourselves to God. Only Allah can give you a way out. That's the thing with difficult situations, that Allah puts people in them to see how they'll respond. And rarely is it a case of someone lifts their hands once and the problem solved immediately. No, there's a process that goes through, and Allah manifests things, wisdom and warnings for the wrongdoers, and lets those who are doing good go through difficulties so they get the rewards, the great rewards from these trials and these sorts of things. All of that happens, so it takes time. So Sayyidina Musa said, قال Musa لقومه, to his people. Qawm, once again, they have the potential to embody this if they did, right? Ista'inu billahi wasbiru. Seek aid and help. Seek to be strengthened personally in and of yourselves. Seek to be strengthened billah, through Allah, the Supreme King. Allah can do anything. He can give you the strength to manage and handle this test and calamity. Wasbiru, be strong, be patient, have fortitude, be resilient. Right? Just hold on through these calamities. Why? Innal arda lillahi. The earth, nominal sentence with inna, firm, connected to the what's said before. So it's the reason for for them having that patience and that turning to God and praying and pleading and asking Him for help and support. Why? The land, the earth itself, but the land that they live in and all other lands belong to God, Allah. Right? يُورِثُهَا مَنْ يَشَاءُ مِنْ عِبَادِهِ. Allah bequeaths it to whoever he wants of his servants. So they're all his slaves, the good and the bad, the fortunate and the wretched. Allah is their Lord, and he can give it to anyone he wants. And so the word yurithuha, from wiratha, inheritance, when someone's dying, they leave a will, I want this to go to that person, right? And when they're dead, it's automatically transferred to the other person. The other person receiving it doesn't even have a choice in the Sharia. When someone dies, you inherit from them. It's automatic inheritance, automatic acquisition of money or property. And, he says he gives it to whoever he wills. So, just like someone leaving a will, I want so and so to have this much and so and so to have this much. The heirs, in the Sharia, it's they have up to a third, and the heirs don't have any say in that. If the person who's going to die leaves, the entire third to the enemies, they don't have a say in it. So he says he does what he wills. He can put people in any situation. So he can give you control of the land. He can give you everything, right? Man yasha'u min ibadihi, whoever he chooses, right? This group or that group, right? That's the mashia, to single out one over others, of any one of his slaves, right? So be slaves, turn to God, and it will come your way. Why? وَالْعَاقِبَةُ لِلْمُتَّقِينَ, and the end, the ultimate outcome is for the God-fearing, those who do their best to serve Allah, to deflect His punishment, to not wrong others. What happens then? The good comes to them. And so it also shows that worship, ibadah, directing yourself to Allah is a form of taqwa, as is patience. It's a form of taqwa. One of the means of, embodying taqwa is to have these qualities. Hold on to them. So this is really beautiful, sound advice from Sayyidina Musa alayhi salatu wasalam. What's their response? So remember, you're talking about a people who they'd been enslaved. So their will, their fortitude wasn't great, right? And there's this a degree of there's a number of negative qualities that that were there, that come out even in the address here to Sayyidina Musa, and we definitely see them when they're eventually freed from the grip of Fir'aun. In Surah Al-Baqarah we covered a lot of that. And so it starts here. قالوا أوذينا من قبل أن تأتينا ومن بعد ما جئتنا. They complained, we've always been oppressed before and after you came to us with a message. قال عسى ربكم أن يهلك عدوكم ويستخلفكم في الأرض فينظر كيف تعملون. This is a powerful verse. It talks about the nature of tests, and you may think you're down one day and then Allah can raise you to the top. And someone could be at the top, but then wrong others. Someone could be oppressed and harmed and persecuted in the worst form, and Allah can change their situation, and then He tests them. Okay, you were at the bottom and you suffered, now you're on top. How are you going to behave? And how often it is, where some people go and become persecutors themselves. So He looks at what people do. It's all a test, right? They said, "Udhina min qabli an ta'tiyana." Before you came to us, ta'tiya quickly, right? Before you came to us, we were harmed. Right, we were hurt and oppressed and harmed by them immediately, right up until the point you came to us. وَمِن بَعْدِ مَا جِئْتَنَا, and immediately after you came to us, we've been oppressed. What they're saying, right? Before you came to us quickly, like He came with the message, but then when He came and delivered the message, jita, right? And so they're saying, we haven't gained anything from you. You haven't done us any favors. We haven't benefited in your coming and speaking to Him, and and doing this big public event where where you faced His magicians. We haven't got anything out of it. Right. In fact, they're hinting at the opposite, that we've only just suffered and your coming hasn't really done anything. What was the point, right? And I don't know what they're implying. It's even worse that now that you've come in ba'di ma ji'ta, you come, this tremendous ja'a of something tremendous. Now that you've come in this way, we're still getting suffering. So is it more? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows best. But that's what they're complaining about. That, you're telling us to do this. Like, what have you done for it? What have we actually gained from your coming? So then Sayyidina Musa says, Asa Rabbukum. And here he's laying down the law of God and explaining the sunnah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Asa is used for hope. And this is adab with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, right? That hopefully, possibly, your Lord will do this. And he knew Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would do this, right? And but it's also presented in a way that doesn't make them think, we can do what we want, we'll get away with it, Allah will take, Allah will give us victory. No, he's put it in a way that doesn't relinquish them of the responsibility of actual action, physical action. And so Asa Rabbukum, your loving caring master, as a blessing, and because he's your master, and yuhlika aduwakum, it may well be that he destroys your enemy Fir'aun, and the oppressors working for Fir'aun. وَيَسْتَخْلِفَكُمْ فِي الْأَرْضِ, and replace you in the land. Now this is very significant. He's talking to people who have been persecuted for centuries and generations, and then they're in a sense they're impatient, and they're saying no good has come to us through you. So he's saying that, well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala may very well bring all good to you, right, and put you in a position of strength and power in the land. فَيَنْظُرُ كَيْفَ تَعْمَلُونَ, and then he will look at how you work, how you do things. Not only what you do, is it good or bad, but the means you use to get there, are they good or bad, and why look and watch what they do in order to judge them, right? No one no people are going to be free of judgment. We know from the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam there'll be a number of people from this ummah who won't be judged by the grace of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. But in general, everyone's judged, right? Everyone is judged. And even say from those 70,000 and the other 70 groups that go with them, even if they're not judged, things will be resolved if they require being resolved. Allah will resolve them, right? So he said, look, don't think it far-fetched, right? It may well be like this. So he's talking to people who are in the depths of their, depths of difficulty and their misery, and they're showing a degree of ingratitude. A degree of ingratitude to their Prophet, who's come and he stepped up and speaking for them, and that's a big thing. That's a big thing. I mean, none of them dared challenge Fir'aun before that, right? So then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comments, and so this is the start of the narration. We'll just go end on this verse, but he starts off the narration of what came and how Allah tested the people of Fir'aun and tried them with so maybe these people will change, right? Giving them an opportunity to stop and reflect. He says, وَلَقَدْ, he swears an oath, وَلَقَدْ أَخَذْنَا آلَ فِرْعَوْنَ بِالسِّنِينَ وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ. So he said, by God, we gripped the followers of Fir'aun. So the entire nation, all these people who are profiting and benefiting from the slavehood of Bani Israel, that we seized these people bisinin, with famine, وَنَقْصٍ مِنَ الثَّمَرَاتِ, and a diminishment, a shortage of fruit, right? Fruits are the thing that you eat last generally. It's like a dessert. right? And so if for someone to lack that, like the pleasures of life, and then the sinin, the droughts affect the other things people eat, rice or wheat or barley, and and animals, because animals don't have much to graze on either. So this drought that causes a dearth of growth, right? And a great shortage of food, and it affects everyone. Even the rich and the elite don't have they don't benefit or they don't enjoy all the treats they used to, and to the same degree during a drought. Everyone has to have some cutbacks, and they were affected, right? And the ala of Fir'aun, the followers of Fir'aun and his people, why? Because they're the ones supporting him. And the people of a tyrant, just like he's responsible for them, they also need to speak out when he does something wrong, right? Of any ruler. And rulers should allow scope for this, right? And why is all this happening? لَعَلَّهُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ. So it can be hoped. It can be hope. La'alla is used for hope, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, hope is only envisioned from someone who, you can only picture someone hoping when they don't know the outcome of something. But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows. So in a general sense, so it can be hoped that these people will remember, might come back to their senses in the translation, but will reflect, and it will affect them. يَذَّكَّرُونَ. It's a powerful reminder that hits the heart and just penetrates to the depth of one's being, and it affects them significantly. So life was easy, and then a messenger came, he delivered the message, you rejected him, and then Allah gave you difficulty after difficulty after difficulty after difficulty. Hope, so it can be hoped that you will stop, reflect, understand, and realize all this is happening because we made that choice and we're sticking with that choice. We need to change. And it's a powerful يَذَّكَّرُونَ, very powerful, hit to the heart, where a person thinks, whoa, I'm causing this, and if I just stop doing this, everything will be better. That powerful reminder, لَعَلَّهُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ. And do they take this warning? Do they heed it? Absolutely not. So we'll stop here and we'll continue from this point, inshallah, and we'll look at these punishments that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala laid out. Okay. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم والحمد لله رب العالمين.